So welcome everybody. I am so glad that you feel like joining me on this webinar. I've been looking very much forward to it and I'm really excited. It is a bit new to me to share this because what I'm going to share today is quite personal or uh, relating to my soul. I don't know if you'd call that personal or solanal or whatever. Uh, uh, it feels very personal, these things that I'm going to share today. So I've been curious to see how that goes, and I've already started up an energetic field that I'm holding for all the participants that are with us live and those that watch the video afterwards. So if you feel something in the energy, it's just because I'm holding a field, and I'm not deliberately going to do anything with your energy. I'm just holding a field for the information to flow better, and so that it's easier to receive it in the best possible way. And some of you already know me, but others are new to me. So I'm just going to say my name is Rie Jespersen. I am from Denmark and I'm an anthropologist and a trained shaman of modern shamanism and a hypnotherapist. And I have been working with SoulKey hypnosis for 1.5 years now, professionally. SoulKey hypnosis is regression to past lives and life between lives. And that's so exciting, and it's given me a lot of insights that are kind of the background for some of what I'm going to say today. And recently I took another level of education in that field that is called a Master SoulKey. And in a Master SoulKey, you can travel to not only past lives and life between lives, but like almost anywhere you can imagine, different dimensions, all sorts of different libraries, other places in the universe, and so on, all depending on where you need to go as a soul, what is important for you right now. And during my education, I also underwent a lot of these soul journeys. And during that, I gained some important insights, I feel, that are so important that I feel like I need to share them with others. They're not only for me. So that's one of the reasons why I've decided to do this webinar today. And today what we're going to talk about is, at first I'm just going to explain a little bit about how this is possible to gain this information. And I'm going to go into like the life of a soul and the structure of a soul, like the nature of a soul. What is it really? Because those are some of the questions that I've been curious about. And when you travel in a Master SoulKey or a SoulKey session, as I said, what decides the outcome is what you need right now. So I have been asking myself some questions about how does this work with, like, how can I come from that place but also have been living in that place as a soul, and what does that make me, and all sorts of questions like that. And because those questions were top priority in me, that was the answers that I got. So if you were on a SoulKey or a Master SoulKey, you would probably hear about totally different topics, things that were relevant to you. So just because this is what I experienced doesn't mean it's going to have anything to do with what you could experience on your soul journeys, because we all get what we need. And I'm going to talk a bit about Pleiadian earthly relations and something about the current challenges that we're facing on the planet right now. I know that all of you who are watching today are what we can call light workers, and that's perfect because you are the ones that I have some messages for. So that's important to share. And I'm also going to give a little forecast and tell a little bit about what's happening in the energy right now. And I'm also going to say something about the purpose of the pyramids, because I am a pyramid nerd. I've written a book about the Bosnian pyramids, and I wonder a lot about pyramids. So that's why it was so important in me that I actually wanted to ask that question instead of like personal questions. So that's why I have some answers about that as well that I want to share with you. So that is the program for today. And if I say something that you don't understand, please feel free to write in the chat and ask about it. And then at the end, I hope we'll have some time for more expansive questions if there's something that you'd like me to unfold more. But during the webinar, please keep it to questions of understanding, so that we make sure that we get all this important information across. Good. So how is it possible to get this information? In SoulKey and Master SoulKey, we use hypnosis. And hypnosis, many people are a little bit scared of it because they don't know what it is and they think it has to do with mind control and all sorts of things. But really, it's just inducing a relaxed state of mind, that it's so relaxed that the logical brain goes a little bit in the background and allows the subconscious to step forward and the soul knowledge to step forward. And then the therapist can guide and keep track of the questions, but it's really the client that sees all the information, gets all the experiences, and then the therapist is only asking questions to help guide the soul to go in the right way to find the answers that they are searching for. So everybody can do this. It's not related to special powers that I have. It's just a matter of relaxing and opening up to this information. And then what you receive lands, of course, on top of what you already know. So they can only show us information that is within our zone of, like, next zone of development, next zone of understanding. So the more understanding you have before you ask the question, the more extensive and elaborate an answer they can give. So I'm going to share this information that I get today, and if there's some kind of, hey, we missed what's the background of this, in order to understand, please just ask and I'll go into more background. But I assume that those who are joining today are already quite a lot into this, and you already have quite a deep understanding of many things, so I'm not going to go into all the details unless you ask. All right. So wiping the slate clean. The first thing, or one of the first things that happened when I went on my Master SoulKey sessions was that I was going there expecting to sit and listen to some wise soul and having them tell me a lot of stuff. But instead what happened was they directed the microphone at me and said, okay, so let's hear you, what do you have to say? And that was very surprising to me. But to my surprise as well, I knew exactly what to say. I had a lot of things that I wanted to say to them. And that's because when I go there, I'm not Rie Jespersen. I am a higher self. I am my soul at some level, depending on what I tune into. And at that point of myself, I know exactly what to say. So I'm just following as a kind of a viewer of what's going on. So it's a little bit of a funny experience, just being inside a person, but not being in control, just watching what's going on. And this experience that they were directing the microphone at me and wanting me to say something contained an important message to me that was, it's time for you to start speaking up and sharing your wisdom now. And I found out that's not only for me, that's for all of us right now, that it's really the time that we begin to share the knowledge and the wisdom that our souls contain. And it's more urgent now than ever. So if there's anything that you take from this, please feel inspired to also go out and share your perspectives, your soul knowledge, the things that you've already always known, but you've just never thought of sharing it because, well, everybody knows that. No, they don't. You're unique. You bring your own perspective, your own wisdom, and it's important that you share it because we're all here bringing in some piece of the puzzle, and we need to have everybody's pieces of the puzzle out so that we can share it. Good. And the first place I went when I traveled out into the universe was a place in the Pleiades, inside the biggest star. And as I experience it, it's because a sun looks like a sun or a star because it's an enlightened civilization or a very high frequency place. So we can actually see it, but it's at a different dimension, you could say, a different level. So inside Alcyon, there is a civilization, but it's not a physical one. It's a higher frequency one. And a part of me exists there, and that's why I went there. How did they introduce themselves? Which ones? The ones that pointed the microphone at me? Yeah. They were at that scene that you were asking about. I was just sitting in a movie theater or not a movie theater, but a stage, a theater, and it was all dark in the theater, and there was just a spotlight on the stage, and I could see that I had to go up on the stage and take the microphone and start thanking those that I needed to thank. And as I started thanking, thank you to all the guides that are helping, thank you to all the angels and so on, light came on to where the audience was sitting, and I could see that they were there waiting. So they were there sitting, waiting for me to thank them. And then as I did, they became visible, and I could see that they are really aware that we're working together, all of us, at this moment. So that's how they introduced themselves at that scene. But the next scene that I am about to tell you about here, I went to the Pleiades, to a very high dimensional place. I'm a little bit reluctant about calling it dimensions because it's not like that's one dimension and that's the second and that's the third. It doesn't work like that. It's more like vibrational places. Like when you have a color range, you have long waves, and then they become faster and faster, and we can see a certain can't see that. We can see a certain range of frequencies, and that's visible to us, and we think that's all there is, but no, there are colors that are at a longer rate, like a lower vibration, and those that have a higher, and they exist as well. And it's the same thing with this. It's just they exist on higher vibrational levels, so we can't see it, but it's just as real as our part of reality. And the reason why I went there was, of course, that this feels like home to me. This is a place that I return to sometimes. And I've been there before in meditation, and I met my father there because there are lives. It's not just a pure soul existence. It is like an incarnation, but it's not physical because they're not physical bodies, but it is some kind of a lifespan and family relations and jobs and things like that. And I met my father there, who's a very wise man, and I asked him some of the questions that I have been trying to figure out. And one of them was that I know that I've seen on an earlier Master SoulKey that my sister performed on me years ago. I've seen my soul getting born, and I could see that it came out of the big God energy, a little piece of that, and it went to something that looked like a kindergarten for little newborn angels, and growing up there, and then going down through different planets that then were denser and denser, preparing to come to a place like Earth, that is very dense and a little bit a hard place to live. So I was just wondering about, like, how can I be Pleiadian but also have like an angelic kind of soul? What's that about? And he showed me this image of a football field, and that's why I know it's not something I'm making up, because I never think about football and I barely know how to draw it. So so I know it's a picture that he gave me. And what he wanted to show with this was that for every soul that is born, there is a goal. There's a certain place that we want the soul to end up. And that is the focus of the whole span of the soul. And then we can throw the ball into the field from any area. And that's an allegory saying, like, we can take the soul out of a certain aspect of God, a certain color range of the white light, and then it will fit, but we can still, no matter whether we throw it in from here or from here or from here, we can get it to the goal. There's just something that's easier depending on where all the players are placed at this moment. So for instance, my energy was taken out of the range of energy of God that we can call the angelic range. It looks like the pink ones, and then you have some blue ones and some green ones, but you can either way you can end up in the same place. And then instead of just kicking it directly to the goal, you kick it around to different players that are placed at different places before getting it into the goal. And that all depends on how everybody is playing, where everybody is placed. So the big plan can be changed underway. The thing that is fixed is the goal. And then depending on what's possible and what's needed, we'll have incarnations in different places around the universes and end up in the goal. So it might take longer, it might take shorter, it depends, like, where are the others standing, where are they blocking us off, how good are we at it, how lucky are we, things like that. And then at the end we get to the goal. So that's an image of soul being born, moving around to different places in the universes in order to go to the goal. And there were still some things that I didn't really understand about how it works with the higher self and the lower selves, and what is what, and what is the goal then. I'm just I'm tapping in to see. The goal is the highest possible evolution of oneself, in which you are able to return to the source, but adding a new perspective, because you've gone your own unique way when returning to the source. So it is making your qualities as fine as possible, so fine that you can reach the same frequency as the God frequency, but you're adding something new because you've gone your own way and gained certain unique perspectives, so that you're adding more colors to the whole. That's the goal. There you have it. Okay, and he gave me another image that should explain the structure of the soul. And it looks a little bit like a Christmas tree, and I'm gonna draw it to you now. At the top, there is a star, like on the Christmas tree. And I draw it like this because it's really white and bright, because it's similar to God. It's the little spot that was taken out of God, and it's the purest soul light. And then from this spot of pure energy, it's dividing out. And going down through the densities. And at the top, at the highest frequency, there are fewer lives. There might just be one, and then maybe 3 in the next one, and maybe 5 or something. Like, I don't have the exact numbers, but it's just to give you the idea of how it works. So this is a drawing to show that at the lowest frequency, down here, where we are now, the densest, the most physical, there are a lot of incarnations, thousands of lives. And all of this is happening at the same time in one big now. So while we are having thousands of lives in the lowest density, we can have just a few lives at a very high frequency, maybe even just one at the highest. And that is all going on at the same time. And that's why we can access ourselves at multiple higher levels and tap into a higher self that's not just one higher self, but you can access pure soul information. You can access like my Pleiadian self, or a past life in another planet, or maybe there's like a guardian angel kind of function or something like that. You can tap into many different higher selves that are at different levels, and you can tap into past lives and future lives, because it's all happening in one big now, and that's impossible for our human minds to really understand. And this image gave me a lot of understanding, because also everybody looks like this. It's not just me. This is how we all are. Our souls are structured like that. And that means when you have two souls, then one, like, there might be a guide for me at that point, but then I might have an aspect of me that's guiding them, or guiding another one of them, another one at a different level. So we can all be teachers to each other. My higher self might be a guide that is helping myself, but it might also help somebody else. And then somebody else can have a higher self that's guiding them, and me or somewhere further up. So it's all like we as the souls are so big, and they have so many different incarnations at so many different levels, and we can tap, depending on our ability to become more open and listen better, we can tune into that and we can access that information. And when we see this, it also helps to give an understanding, I hope, that everybody's equal and everybody is a teacher. So we really need to be respectful of everyone and remember that everyone has something important to share, and maybe you are their teacher in this life, but maybe they were your teacher in the past life, or their higher self is a teacher to one of your higher selves, and so on. So just be respectful of everyone. You never know who's a teacher and who's a student. And somebody here is asking, so what's the purpose of so many of us? Why us at all? I'm not sure I really understand the question. Can you elaborate on your question a little bit? Do you mean soul purpose, or why there are so many incarnations? And while you write that, I will read aloud that another one wrote, we are all connected. Yes, love is all. Exactly, we are all connected. And also we are all connected in the sense that the souls are like in the purest essence, at the very source. It's just straight God essence. So when you look into it, like if you had a microscope and could look into it, all that it consists of is God. So yes, there is just one energy, and that energy takes shape and form and can appear to be something else, but it still consists of the same. We are all protons and what's it called? Like we're all atoms, and all the atoms are from the same place. I understand we are expanding, but why are we created at all? We are God expanding and trying out different ways of expressing itself. We are the creative expression of the divine energy. And that is one big chain of continuous creation that I'm going to go more into in very shortly. So we are created as a way of expanding creation, and in that way seeking out opportunities. And we are given this gift that we are creators as well, so we're supposed to go out and create more beauty, more whatever we can come up with in our unique way. That is that's my interpretation of what I sense and what I see. Please feel free with everything I say. Please feel free to have your own opinions and your own expressions. I present my perspective, and you all come with your unique perspectives. And somebody writes, yeah, about how this relates to the theater thing. That is that myself that is in the Pleiades have a function that has to do with helping people on Earth, light workers, be in the right place at the right time. And I'm going to go more into it shortly. Yes, good. because I have a lot of information to share, so I want to move on to the next. I'm glad that you have so many questions. It shows me that you can follow what I'm saying here and that you also have an interest in this. So good to see. And I went on from the Pleiades, I went on a spaceship to something that's called the Intergalactic Council. And it sounds like, like when you listen with just Earth ears, it sounds like, okay, she's a little bit crazy, this one. But when you're there, it's just the most natural thing in the world. And that's what calms me down and gives me a sense that this is true and it's real, because when I'm there, I can sense that this is actually how it is, and there's nothing crazy about it. It's just on Earth we're so limited in our perspective that we forget how big and incredible everything is. So up there, it's just the most natural thing in the world. Well, we jump onto a spaceship and we go to the Intergalactic Council. And how I see the Intergalactic Council is a big mothership where other spaceships can fly into and land. And then there's a big meeting hall, like a lecture room with a stage, and people can sit up like an amphitheater and listen to the ones that are speaking. But there are also meeting rooms where you can go and have meetings. And there's a library and other things. Yeah, somebody saw it too. Thank you. Yes, I actually know quite a few who's been there through different ways, not just through SoulKey and Master SoulKey, but also through meditations and other things. So it's there. And the purpose of the Intergalactic Council is a little bit like the UN, but on an intergalactic scale. So emissaries meet up from different places and have meetings and make plans and follow up on projects, and like they are working towards carrying out the divine plan in a smooth a way as possible. So it's really a place that is highly connected and therefore very different from the UN. It's not just souls that have their individual agenda and are really like fighting each other, trying to have it their way. But it's more like working together, seeing how can we make sure that this works out as planned. And I went to a library there to check out something about pyramids and how the pyramids were built and things like that. And I saw something about the relation between the Pleiades and Earth. And what I said before about becoming creators, the Pleiades have evolved for so many years. And at a certain point, they were so evolved that they started going out and creating new worlds. And the way this kind of creation works is they start up by creating grid lines, like just energy in space. And then when you have energy flowing in the same place for a long time and crossing, energy starts building up in the cross points. And when energy becomes dense enough at the cross points, it can become matter. So they create by setting up the energy grids at first, and then slowly things can become materialized. So their level of creators is not, they're not the original creator that created the whole everything and that is the whole everything. They're more like helpers of the creator, setting up grids and energy in order to make the space fold into different creations. And so here on Earth, they also came here to Like before the Earth was even created, they started up working with the energy at first. So they were creating energy and creating grid lines. Quite similarly to how we do it here, because they do it by visualization, by keeping a very clear intention. And that's easier when you don't have a monkey mind that like we have, with brains that keep on like popping up with other thoughts. So they're very good at keeping a clear intention, a clear image, and then being many about it, creating the same image. And that's the best way to manifest things. Also here on Earth, if we want to manifest things, we need to be more that agree upon a certain thing and then be very specific on how it's supposed to be. And then as they expand the grids and it becomes denser and denser, they put in pyramids to hold the energy in place. So energetic pyramids in certain places, with the purpose of keeping the grid in place. What is the distance between grid points? That's hard to say, because you have major grid lines and then smaller ones between and smaller ones between and smaller ones between. So you have the major grid crossings, they're the stars. They're the biggest grid points. But you also have smaller grid points. On Earth, you have the pyramids as primary grid points, but there are grid points everywhere because they're just smaller and smaller or bigger and bigger. And so the relation between the Pleiades and Earth here is that they helped setting up the grid work for the planet before the planet was dense, and they are working as tutors for us, and not just for planet Earth, but for our solar system and surrounding area. So they're tutors, which means they help us in our development. They support us and sometimes come here in incarnated form. Wink, wink, all of you out there who are here at this moment, who are from there, come here as light workers to help expand consciousness here and help realign matters on Earth to the divine plan for Earth. And then at some point, Earth people are going to be so advanced that they're going to go out and help set up new realities. So in that way, we're all becoming more and more conscious creators as we develop. And I need to give you an important message that I found in the Galactic Council. Because I went to a meeting room where I had a meeting with some light workers that are incarnated now on Earth, but in their group, they had become a little bit like they were disagreeing on how to do things. So I was having a meeting with them, helping them remember their mission. And again, this is something that I shared there while I was looking at myself doing it. But I can see that this is important. So that's why I want to really share this with you now. And I'm going to draw some graphs for you to illustrate what it is. This is a graph that shows both how we are supposed to be and how grand scale society is supposed to be, because that's the same. How we are inside and how we are collectively is the same. As without, so within, as above, so below, and so on. Maybe you've heard about a normal distribution curve. Like when you have a lot of people and they're gonna like most people are going to be in the middle, and then some are going to be further out to one side, others are going to be further out to the other side, but you'll have a mean somewhere in the middle. And it's really important at this point that we make sure that we are centered in ourselves, that we know what we believe, what we think, and that we are in balance. And it's really important when we are this, we can help society as a whole to be in balance and agreeing. And right now, it looks more like this. Right now, we have people grouping and moving further away from each other. And this is mirrored inside all of us as an internal division and being confused. What is right? What is wrong? What's going on? What can I believe? Who can I trust? An internal division as well. So we need to do everything we can to gather people together and to gather ourselves together in a center. And I've heard light workers talk about this as a good thing, that we are moving in one direction, others are moving in another way. Maybe it would be the spiritual people moving one way and the more material ones moving the other way, and that could be good, because then we'll make an ascending earth and a descending earth. But that's not according to the plan. That would make both realities weaker. And the reason why this is important to share is that there is actually a real possibility that reality is going to break into two. We're held by an earth logos, a really big spirit that keeps the field for planet Earth, for all the ones that incarnate, so that we are able to go in as souls and have an experience here within a framework that is held by the logos. So we have a lot of freedom to create what we want to do, but there are also limits, and those limits are set by the logos in order to give us a shared experience. Because if we could all just manifest instantly whatever we wanted without any sort of like cosmic law or anything, then it wouldn't be one reality and one experience, one life. It would be chaos. So there are some limits to the free will, but there is only so much that the planetary logos can hold. If we agree in two groups that we're going to manifest in that direction and we're going to manifest in that direction, then we are actually so strong creators that we can break reality into two and create like two parallel worlds. But it's not going to be one will then ascend and the other one will descend. They're going to both descend, because if we feel so proud and self-assured that we can do without the others, it really shows that we're not that highly developed at all. They're all important. So what we need to do in order to gather everybody together is we need to be humble enough to listen to what everyone has to contribute, because everyone has something to share. And we might be very provoked by what some have to say, but that will probably be because a part of them mirror our shadow, that, oh, I don't want to talk to them because they never listen. Okay, well, but do I listen? Am I open to hear what they have to share? So it is crucial at this moment that we really do our very, very best to listen to others and to try to understand where they come from and see what is the value that they bring. We don't have to give up everything that we believe and everything that we know. We just need to take in the good that they bring and move ourselves a little bit, because every time we learn something new, we move a little bit towards a center. And if we all do that, if we all listen to each other, ask more questions, be humble, and try to figure out what is the shared reality, where are we heading, everybody, then we can do this. And like it is like I believe this is what's going to happen. We just need to be aware that this is important and not let ourselves be divided, because that's what those who are trying to disrupt the plan are going for this one now. They're trying to make us feel divided inside ourselves and divided from each other. And we don't want to do that. And we don't want to cast anyone out. We need everyone in this. And it's okay that some are a bit further out, but the majority need to agree on a certain cosmology, a certain reality. All right. There's one more graph that I need to draw to you to show a little forecast about how the energy is going. And it shows development, material, physical development, and internal, like spiritual development. You could call it physical and consciousness development. Time and development. And again, the important thing is that we're moving towards the goal, and that's what we need to really be aware of and keep in mind at all times. We're moving towards a certain goal, and the material development goes gradually. Material development goes like putting brick on brick, putting things together. It takes time gradually. Whereas consciousness development goes in jumps. Suddenly you have an insight and you're in a new place. And then you can be there for a long time. You can even forget it a little bit. And then suddenly you get a new insight and you're in a different place. So consciousness development goes in jumps. Something like that. And that means that we have interchanging periods where consciousness is ahead of material development, and periods where material development is ahead of consciousness. So here in the blue periods here, you see that consciousness is ahead of the physical development. And in the purple ones here, the material is ahead of the consciousness development. And we've had different periods of time in Earth history where this has been happening. This is a graph again that goes for the individual, and it goes for the global whole. It goes, like if you look at time, like the whole evolution of Earth, it goes like this. But then if you zoom in, you would see that it'd be the same graph, smaller, because you have all the time development going on, and then you have these jumps if you zoom out in the big picture. So this means at the periods where material development is ahead of the consciousness, there are dangers that we're going to do stupid things with technology that we don't know the consequences of. And this is the story of Atlantis, for example, that we have technologies and we know how to use them, but we're not aware of the consequences that it can bring. And we have the other end of the scale is when we have periods where people are very highly developed, but the material world is lacking behind. And some of us know that feeling because that's what we're in right now. That, for instance, right now, a lot of people are aware that the environment is suffering and that we need to do something about it. And that happened like in a global scale. It happened very quickly, that suddenly the masses woke up and realized that this was important and that we need to do something about it now. And then it creates a different kind of suffering to have that awareness, but seeing that the material development is lacking behind. And right now we're facing another jump of consciousness. Some individuals have already taken this jump, and others are just about to take that jump. And it happens that like every individual does it at a certain point in themselves. And then when enough of the front runners have done this, then it opens up in the collective consciousness for a lot of others to take the leap as well. And we have been going through more and more jumps, like it going quicker and quicker. So more and more jumps recently in consciousness development. And now another jump is about to happen. And that means a lot of people are going to be in the same situation as the front runners already know, being frustrated about the material world lacking behind what we know we have to do, the discrepancy between what we know is right and what's actually happening. So we need, in this point, to be very supportive of those people and helping them with those frustrations and the impatience. But what we really, really need to do is pay attention to helping the material, physical development to happen. Because as light workers, we're usually more interested in spiritual development, and we want to push consciousness and learn more and more and more. But we need to also hold our horses a little bit and make sure that we keep up in the physical development, that we also like get physical exercise, eat healthy, grow our own food if possible, like that we're not exposed to too much like what's it called, radiation. All these sorts of physical things are really, really important that we need to pay attention to in our own lives, but also as a society, that we help other people not only with their spiritual development, but that we help them create the physical changes in their lives that they need to do, because that's going to be an important focus right now in the coming period of time, really creating a difference in the way we physically live in the world so that it will fit to where our consciousness is. All right. I need to be quick. I see that time is running fast. The last thing I just want to share with you are 3 aspects on the purpose of pyramids. I've already said that one of the purposes of the pyramids is to keep energy in place. And that is true both for the physical world, keeping the physical material in place, but also keeping the consciousness field in place. But I saw 3 other purposes of the pyramids. One of them, I saw an example from Egypt that that water was coming out of the pyramid in Egypt, and that water had been vitalized by rays coming in via sun rays and from the stars, coming in and vitalizing water, and then this water running out into like through tubes and being distributed both into the Nile waters and taken out into the Mediterranean, but also distributed in pipes up and down the Nile for people to drink. And the purpose of that was that when people drink water that has been vitalized, encoded with cosmic imprints of information, and everybody drinks that, they're all on the same page. So that's a little bit like being in the Intergalactic Council, where everybody just remembers the cosmic plan and then naturally works towards it. When we drink water that has been encoded with the same knowledge, everybody just agrees because everybody remembers what is important. So that was one purpose of the pyramid, encoding water with information so that everybody can tune into that information easily. A second purpose of the pyramids is that around the pyramids there is a field of energy that is very similar to how our brain vibrates when it is in a trance state. So when we go to the pyramids, whether it's in Bosnia or it's in Mesoamerica or India or wherever, we can go there and go into a trance more easily, and then through that travel to the astral planes and meet up with other travelers who've come in through the other pyramids. So in that way, the pyramids are portals to the astral planes, where the shamans can go, or the chiefs can go, or whoever travels and meet up. And in that way, it's a shortcut and a portal, like a wormhole. So there are underground tunnels that connect places, but there are also internal tunnels. They're access points to go into the astral planes. And a third one is, I saw a pyramid underwater, and my thought about the pyramids underwater have been that they have sunk, that it's due to a catastrophe that they're now underwater. But what I saw was really, it's not a disaster. Some of them are built to be underwater. And the purpose of that again is to draw in energy and draw that energy down through the oceans, going into the pyramid and being somehow like making the pyramid vibrate and really actively vitalize the oceans. Because the current, just like inside a regular wire, the current is not running inside but around the copper wire. And similarly, in a pyramid, it also runs along the pyramid, also on the outside. So in that way, the information that's being attracted is vitalizing the oceans through the underwater pyramids. So they're supposed to be underwater. All right, it went a little bit quickly with the last here because I wanted to make sure that you got this information. Let's put some of this revitalized coated water into old champagne bottles this new year. Yes, let's do that. I'm drinking water with the Bosnian pyramid water in it all the time to keep me encoded. And somebody's asking here, could you say some of this development of our collective consciousness is about constructive interference, like energies amplifying one another? Yes, if I understand your question correctly, then yes, because our consciousness is a vibration that is affecting everyone else. And when we are front runners and we take a jump and we start doing things differently, when we start living actually physically in the way that is aligned with our consciousness, it makes it easier for everyone else because we affect their energy directly. Do I understand your question correctly? I can see you're typing. Like waves hitting each other on the same wavelength, so it gets bigger. Yeah, interference. Yeah. That's what happens when we meet people where we feel like, wow, there's something special here. I really feel you. That's because our brain waves hit the same and we get a surplus energy. And that's important to us. That really releases a lot of energy. So that's why it gives us so much to be along with like-minded people. We have this synergy effect. And when we meet other people that are not on that wavelength, it can be challenging because we don't have that synergy, and our waves are like, it's difficult to get it to work. But we must not give up on that. That's what I want to say. Don't give up just because our waves are not synchronized yet. We need to find a way to synchronize it, and that's what's really important. No worries. And did you say what the next jump was? I did not go into specifics, but it has to do with becoming really aware that some of the ways we are living right now in the material sense is further away from the truth than we thought it was, because we suddenly see ourselves in a new light and understand how damaging some of our practices have been, like the way most people live their lives. I want to just say something here at the end, that if you want to have your own experience with this, you can do that as well. I give SoulKey sessions and Master SoulKey sessions, as I said, don't expect to see the same things as I saw. That would not make any sense. You will experience what you need to know in order for you to move on in the best way in your life, handling your negative patterns, seeing the key insights that you need in order for you to align yourself to your truth. So it's all really unique. And I give sessions online like this in Zoom, and physically in Aarhus. And if you've not had a SoulKey session before, you need to have that first, because that's where we deal with some important things from your past lives and life between lives. And that is really important to have that settled before we move on to Master SoulKey. So if you've already had a SoulKey session, you can go ahead and book a Master SoulKey session. If not, you need to start with the SoulKey session. And the Master SoulKey is then 2 sessions that you have in a row, but with 1 to 3 weeks in between, so that you have time to let it all sink in. And they are booked together. I'm just gonna go through this, and then I'm gonna go back to your questions. So if you book these 2 sessions here of a Master SoulKey, you get 5 hours of individual therapy, 3 hours first, and then we meet again and you get 2 hours more. And I write notes. So it's almost a transcript of what you said. So you can search in it and you get sound files from it in high quality. And if I would count the price, like what should I sell it for? If I would count the price for 5 hours of my normal rate, it would be 4,000. But then I've set a package price of 3,300 Danish crowns for these 2 master sessions. But then because I took this recently and I want to get started with the first clients, I have a special offer for those who are interested in that. So the first 5 clients get it for 1,900, which is the same as the price for a regular SoulKey. So if you're interested in that, you can buy it at my web shop at riejespersen.dk/shop. And if you have any questions, you can just send me an email on contact, Danish spelling, at riejespersen.dk, or find me on Facebook. And if you want to be a practitioner of SoulKey yourself, I've promised also to say this because my sister is an instructor and she trains SoulKey therapists, and she's really good, of course. And she has a class in Copenhagen in February and March 2021, and it's going to be in Danish. But if some of you are interested in having it in English or having it online, just contact Julie and she'll see what she can do about it. So you can see more about the SoulKey education at juliemariel.dk, or you can write to her on Facebook or here in the chat room. All right. Now back now to the questions here to see. Just one writing here, you should share this to the whole world. Thank you. I'm looking so much forward to my Master SoulKey session with you, and I can highly recommend Julie. Thank you so much. I am also looking forward to guiding you. Yes, so this was what I wanted to share. If there are some final questions, I'll be happy to hang around for a few more minutes to make sure that I can answer them. And if you need to go now, feel free to do that. And I'm gonna upload the video as soon as possible. I'm gonna send out a link to replay to all that have been signed up. And if you are watching this video as a replay and you have questions, you can write them below as comments on the video, and I'll do my best to get back with answers to that. Thank you for listening. And I'm just going to read the comments out loud because they're not going to be in the recording. Thank you so much. So incredible, so inspiring. Wow. Thank you. And thank you for such an interesting and important lecture. It's a pleasure. It's my purpose, so it's the best thing I can do. And another one says here, great work, Rie and Julie. Yes, thank you so much to Julie, my dear sister, who is helping out on the technical end here, making sure everybody's in. Thanks, Julie. All right. So I hope that this was something you could use. Just to wrap it up, remember, just listen to everyone. You never know who's your teacher, and do your best here in this time of division to go in the opposite direction. Get people together. Be brave. Share your truth. Listen to others. Be humble enough to ask questions for those who you think are the most stupid. Ask them, how do you get to that conclusion? And be open, listen, and they will teach you something. And somebody is saying here, thanks for sharing your beautiful insights. Thank you, it's a pleasure. And thanks a lot, Rie. You're a true princess. Oh, thank you. And somebody's writing here, thank you so much. I do have one question. What is a soul family according to you? Where do they come into your perspective? Yes, there are different things. Because you write soul family, and there's also something called soul groups. Soul groups are groups of souls, like a study group when you're at school. Groups of souls that have been born around the same time and around the same purpose, and are following each other along the way and have a guide that is helping them, and they work with the same topic. And there'll be a primary soul group with a number of souls inside. Like typically you'll be maybe 4 to 6 souls in a soul group, and there'll be some that work more together and like little teams in the team, and then that soul group will be part of there'll be other soul groups as well in what's called a secondary soul group. So all the other souls here, you've also known them from many other lives, and you can recognize them as well sometimes when you meet them. And then you can imagine how this will be part of a tertiary group, like an even bigger group of more groups that are also working together. So that's a soul group, and that's what you'll meet in a SoulKey session, where you go to life between lives. But soul family is like, in some way you can say it's a little bit different, because in the Pleiades, for instance, I have a family there. I've met my father and my mother at least, and there might be others that I haven't met yet. And that is like a soul family, because my higher self at that point has an incarnation with them. So they feel like family at that point. So in a way, they feel like my soul family, or my cosmic family, you could say. But that's different to the soul group. And in the tree that I drew before, with all of this, the many incarnations, when you have the physical lives down here, as I see it, in a SoulKey, when you go to life between lives, I actually experience it like this, that is quite close to where we are now, that it's not all the way up that you go. So when you go visit your soul group and talk to the council and things like that, you're still not that far away from the earthly vibrations. You are still in a range where you are ready to go into another life. So you don't move that far away. But at the same time, you do exist further up here. And it is easier when you're in the life between lives to go up and access that than it is when you're in physical incarnation, because there's really a barrier. It takes a bit more to cross that. Once you're above that, it's easier to move through the layers, but you only do it if there is a purpose to it. There's no reason to go up here, like, unless you do have an important question or something that you need to solve. So the soul groups are following each other through the incarnation lines down here, but you also have soul families up here and up here and up here, and that's a different story. So there are different concepts. I hope that's an answer to your question. All right, good. I'm glad. All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening. It was really a true pleasure to be able to give these insights. I hope that they will make sense to you, and that you are gonna go now and really make a difference, because you know how important it is that we stick together and don't let ourselves be divided, but really just keep a focus on the plan, not being distracted by all the craziness that's going on at the moment, but really keeping a clear focus on the goal that we want, keeping a clear image of the world that we want to live in, and paying more attention to that than to all the chaos that's going on right now. Focus, focus, focus on the goal. And somebody is writing, thank you, you're super wise, keep up the good work. Thank you so much. And likewise, keep up the good work. You're all wise souls out there. Yeah. See you and take care. Have a good solstice. Bye-bye for now.
Rie, what is the name of the recorder that you use? Do you remember?
Yes.
The sound recorder. Can you send me the separately? Not now, but can you send me the brand and the type? You know what I mean?
Yes, I'll do that.
Thank you. Have a nice holiday season. Thank you so much.
You too.
Bye.